Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Town Council. We'll start with calling roll.
Councilmember Hefty.
Aye. I'm here.
Councilmember Taylor,
Present.
Mayor Alves.
Here. Quick heads up. As some of you may know, there's been a rash of Zoom bombings of public meetings in the area. For that reason, we will be sort of monitoring Zoom, and if necessary, we'll have to, if anyone who is not clearly a resident and is violating our decorum policy, we will pull them quickly. So apologies for that. We'll do the best we can with that. I don't see anyone, but I'm just be warned that that could happen tonight. With that, we'll take oral communications. Does anyone wish to speak to the council on an item not on tonight's agenda? The Chief Tom, Fire Chief Tom Kucheri is here to speak with us. So please. Chief.
Thank you. All right, let me test out this microphone. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. I'm on Fire Chief Tom Kucheri. Good evening. I'm here on behalf of the fire district in reference to last night's board meeting that took place. We discussed a topic last night on our agenda having to do with an operational change within the fire district. Last night, the fire board unanimously voted to terminate our transport agreement contract between Woodside Fire and American Medical Response, known as AMR. This termination of contract was in support of the fire district staff and our labor group. Just a little bit of history going back to 1999, Woodside Fire, along with 3 other fire agencies in San Mateo County, elected to partner with AMR to provide ambulance transport services to the citizens of our districts. This public-private partnership of our agencies proved to be a financial and staffing burden to our districts. In the early 2000s, 3 of the 4 agencies gave up their contracts with AMR because of the financial and staffing reasons. AMR system status deployment plan and made it so our ambulance from Woodside would be available to run medical calls throughout San Mateo County and not just stay in our own district. The result of this caused a huge impact to our district's needs. In February of this year, the district started contract negotiations with AMR. With no progress being made over several months, we found our contract wouldn't work with what they were offering, and the district made a recommendation to terminate the agreement. What does this mean for the district citizens? Woodside Fire's highly trained paramedic program will continue to provide our community with the best paramedic ALS care. AMR, which is held by state and local response compliance times, will continue to offer ambulance transport services to our community, ensuring that the residents receive the highest quality of care during medical emergencies. The dissolution of this partnership with AMR allows Woodside Fire to better streamline our resources and to provide our residents with a more efficient and seamless EMS experience. With this reallocation of personnel from our ambulance, we are pleased to announce that we will be staffing our rescue and adding more personnel to our district. This strategic decision is in line with our ongoing efforts to enhance the level of service we provide to our community. This specialized unit will play a crucial role in providing enhanced disaster response capabilities to our community in the event of disasters, building collapse, and other complex emergencies. The rescue unit will be equipped to handle the intricate search and rescue operations, ensuring the safety of our residents during the time of need. Additionally, the decision to discontinue the ambulance service will allow our organization to further its commitment to ensuring our community is safe from the threat of wildfire. With the resources allocated from ambulance service, we will be able to dedicate more personnel and equipment to wildfire prevention, preparedness, and rapid response. This is essential in safeguarding our community against our region's increasing wildfires. Thank you. That's all I have. Be safe. Good night.
Great. Thank you, Chief. Actually, I wanted to say that I attended the Zastatats race and the town picnic on Saturday. As it did, I know I saw Councilmember Haskell there. I'm not sure who else was there. I was there with Town Manager Edmund for a little while. We had over 400 runners, and the picnic itself was very well attended. So I want to thank everyone involved, primarily the Parks and Rec Committee, The fire district was there. Several people from the fire district were there, manning a couple of different, manning the fire truck with the hose. That was great. We also had some outreach from them and several of our committees. The Emergency Preparedness Committee was there. Trails and Paths was there. I can't think of anyone, if anyone else was there, but I just want, and all the other volunteers. So it was a great event, and just thanks to everyone who made that possible.
Yeah, I wanted to do the exact same thing, only
Please.
I think the bicycle pedestrians safety committee were incredible about being able to close the road. They had over 17 residents working as volunteers in that effort. There were 13 CERT people there. There was just a slew of the sheriff's department in particular brought in community support officers. The mounted bike officer was there. And it was incredible. I was in the race with my ponies, of course. And it was a great success. It really was. Really beautifully organized.
Great, thank you. Thank you for reminding me of people I forgot. Okay, so with that, we have 2 more hands raised on Zoom. Rita Combs, go ahead.
Hi, thank you for taking my comment. When you did roll call, there was no mention of the 2 council members that are not present. Can you help us with their either locations or they're just not here tonight? Thank you.
They are absent tonight. Christy Corley, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to say also that I thought the picnic was outstanding. I've usually just been at the race, but this time I have older kids and went down to the whole picnic, and I was just amazed how well organized it was. So I know Patty Dews put a lot of time and energy, Ed, with BPTS, and the rest of the, sheriff force and John Myers and Patty Dews just always do the best job on this, the whole committee. So thank you, thank you. I had so much fun watching the kids at the petting zoo, shooting the water from the fire hoses, playing the games. It made me think I can't wait to have grandkids. So anyway, then on another note, I noticed that Hawthorne's is not on this agenda. And I am concerned that the residents of Portola Valley, 4,500, may not know what's coming. And that October 26th from 6 to 9 p.m., that meeting with Mid-Penn Regional Open Space District will probably be deciding where the parking and the trails will be going on the 79 acres. So one option could be 20 parking places to the left of the driveway across from Roberts, and another 20 parking places to the right of the driveway. And then we have the egress and ingress of that parking lot. And currently, for the tours, we are parking the 40 cars up and over the hill, and you cannot see it from Alpine Road. And it's working quite well. And I think that residents need to know that this parking decision is coming. I hate to see them work on drawings that this town may not be behind. So drawings are expensive. And then we will also want comments on the trails. Is 1.2 mile trail enough? Is it, should there be horses? Should there be dogs? Should there be bikes? We need input. And should we connect the trails to other trails like Spring Ridge? I'm not sure the residents know that they can speak at this meeting and write letters now. And I'd like to see the staff of Portola Valley put out the address of where we can write letters and get us the information we need to learn about this. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Christy. I see no more hands raised on Zoom and no more hands here in the schoolhouse. So we will move on to the consent agenda. Public may comment on any item on the consent agenda. Council members can elect to pull items from the consent agenda. So at this point, is there any comment on an item on the consent agenda? I see Rita's hand up. Rita, go ahead.
Yeah, if you had a chance, please review the video from the Finance Committee yesterday. There was a lot of information that was shared. It was pretty enlightening. And I just want to say that on the warrant list, the item I'm talking about is the warrant list. There are a couple of charges, such as the farmer's market, 6,000. I know you're going to talk about I guess the current year moving forward on the farmer's market, but there's a $6,000 charge about the farmer's market, and it says for music and giveaways or gifts for $6,000 from last year, and a $42,000 charge for the previous attorney's Kara's for July or May, but it just seems like a lot. And yesterday at the finance meeting, I know we're working hard on the financial audits, but perhaps we need to take a pause and also review our contracts and, and look and see how we are billing against some of the different charges. But for $42,000 for the previous attorney, Kara's law firm for 1 month, just seems a lot. But I'll save my other comments about the farmer's market for when the presentation is further on in the agenda. But I think this item should be pulled and spoken about, this $6,000 that from last year. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. I see no other hands in Zoom for public for the consent agenda and no hands here in the schoolhouse. Does anyone wish to pull an item from consent?
I suppose the minutes.
Okay, so we'll pull item 3A. Craig, anything for you? You got more?
I actually bravely wanted to pull 3B.
Okay.
Subcommittee.
Okay, so
Just because, not because I don't agree with it wholeheartedly, I just thought it was a little bit more to discuss about it.
okay, so you want to pull 3A and 3D.
Yeah.
Craig, do you want to pull anything else? No. Okay, so I will take a motion to approve items 3B and C. So move.
Second?
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Hefty,
Yeah, aye.
Councilmember Taylor,
Aye.
Mayor House.
Aye. Okay,
Mayor
items
Alves,
3B,
if I may just interrupt, I would like to make a quick comment on the warrant list. It's not necessarily for, it's already been approved, if you will. Just wanted to comment on the $1.1 million check that is here. You can see it's under Town of Portola Valley. There's a check for $1.1 million. And basically that's to Schwab, our investment firm, to help us maximize our funds moving forward. There's been a lot of discussion, as you know, in Finance Committee and in Council about getting the best bang for our buck, getting the best return on our investments. And now that I'm here, now that Cindy's able to, get the accounts to where they need to be, we're actually working on wire transfers. So that becomes a normal routine of making wire transfers back and forth to the different accounts to maximize our resources. This is actually a paper check. We're doing it old school to get it done and transferred now. And if it works, then it opens the door for more of these. So in the future, we'll see more of these transfers or dollar amounts. But I just wanted to highlight that obviously it's a large dollar amount. We're basically moving it from one fund to another with a higher yield. So great news for all of us, and thanks and kudos to the Finance Committee.
Great, thank you. Thank you for that update. Thank you. Okay. Item 3A minutes. Mary, you had comment,
I
correction?
just thought we should add, thought they were mostly fine. But under the managers ad hoc committee, I just thought we should add the word Hawthorns to that part of it, because I was trying to.
Yeah,
I actually
yeah.
called the membership to ask them, are you on the managers committee? So if we could add the word Hawthorne, and I think also Paul Hypo is off of it and Catherine McGill is on it. So if we're going public with it, we should have it as the best date as possible, have it up to date.
Yeah, I actually had the same, I had the same thought that, yeah, we should, it says the ad hoc town manager committee, but it should say ad hoc comment or Hawthorne's committee, just so people know what the thing is about. Agreed. Thank you. Any other corrections to the minutes? There is a public,
Minutes.
okay, or a second? Second, we do have a public comment. Christy, go ahead. It's on the minutes.
Yeah, I'd like to see the Hawthorne summary and detail about what we talked about in the Recreation Committee. It was quite lengthy. Karen Askey had an overhead presentation. I think it's in public comment today, but I'd like more details for the residents of Portola Valley to learn about the details. Parking, dogs, bikes, trails. We need to be able to give feedback. And if we can't learn about it through the minutes, then people don't know what's going on. So please be more detailed on the Hawthorne minutes in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any more discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Hefty,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor,
Aye.
Mayor Alves.
Aye. Okay, item passes. 3D, the ad hoc housing element adoption plan. Mary.
I'm obviously wholeheartedly in support of this. I do have a concern that we need to take action on this sooner rather than later. And I'm hoping this is going to mean that we can actually do something. We can actually approach people and actually, we're looking at, there's opportunities out there right now that I'd sort of like to know how we're going to approach within the next week or so. So I don't know quite how to do that, but I just wanted you to know that I think that there are real estate opportunities that we don't want to miss with our inclusionary housing fund.
Well, this isn't specifically about the inclusionary housing fund, but this is appointing you and Judith
Yeah.
as a subcommittee to
Yeah.
explore exactly
Yeah.
what you're talking
Yeah.
about. So yes,
Yeah.
that is what this was for.
Good, good.
Okay.
And so we would go directly to the manager then.
I would suggest making sure whatever you do, you work with the manager and the attorney, just to make sure you're
Okay.
above board. But yes, the council is authorizing the two of you to begin that work.
Fabulous.
Would you like to move to approve this?
Maybe you should.
So moved. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Hefty,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor,
Aye.
Mayor Alves.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. All right, that brings us to the regular agenda and sorry, what? Oh, okay. As you may have noticed, maybe you can hear me a little better tonight. That's because we are testing some new microphones. We're going to take 5 minutes to swap microphones so we can test a different potential model. So forgive us, 5 minutes. We'll be back at 7:25. Thank you.
That's a very good.
Okay, we're back. Thank you for your patience. Again, hopefully you can hear me a little better because I have a microphone that can now pick me up no matter where I'm sitting. Okay, we are on to the regular agenda, item 4A, farmers market approval and reauthorization. Staff will go report.
All right, so I'm going to talk briefly about the farmers market. This is a license agreement that we've been doing since I believe about 2018. It's with Good Roots. We've been working with a gentleman, Niall from Good Roots, has been a great partner. And we hold the farmers market outside here in the schoolhouse parking lot on Thursdays from roughly 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the winter and then 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the summer. And they've been great partners. They've helped us support town events as well as making them a bit of an event with a bit of music. They have activities for kids. They have great different offerings, which I'll talk a bit about that invoice later and about the budgeting and the rough cost. They've always found a way to support our summer concerts. We do have food trucks for the summer concerts and they make space for them and stay open a little bit later to provide some more food, provide some more place for the kids to run around and options. And we've been working with the interim town attorney to update the 2-year agreement to a license agreement for 2 years, but we do want to annually review the budget, just because our financial situation changes, the requests from Good Roots changes. We want to make sure that it can be consistent. We could provide them what they need without providing ourselves in too much of a promise ahead of time. Like we won't want to overpromise if we can't deliver that. So staff recommends that the town council adopt the resolution to continue our partnership with Good Roots. And since there was a question about the invoicing earlier, just so I can go over what that money, where that money goes. So the farmer's market, we have about $4,000 that goes towards the live music, some of the events that they have. They do sometimes pumpkin carving. I've heard at Christmas, they do some fun Christmas events for the kids. So this is helping them provide sort of seasonal events. The price for that did go up a little bit this year, which is why you see a slightly elevated cost. And then marketing and advertising, sort of lights, decor, flyers, any marketing materials they provide. They also run an Instagram page, so just to help with the staffing for that, as well as on-site representation. So the admin cost, which is about $1,000, just to have people running the farmer's market, finding new vendors and ensuring that there's supplies. They do set up the crosswalk for us. They help the kids cross the street, and we've moved the bus stop. That is the one change we did make in the license agreement. So they have volunteered a little bit more time from staff to help with that.
Thank you, Corey. Any questions from the council on this?
How is this different than the previous contract?
The only change would be the crosswalk. So before, staff used to man the crosswalk because the bus typically pulls into the schoolhouse parking lot to drop the children off after school, or typically they're across the street. But because of the farmer's market, the bus has to pull over on the opposite side. So a staff member previously from the town staff was helping with the crosswalk. Now a member of the farmer's market Good Roots is going to do the crosswalk for staff. That's the main change. Otherwise, it's just the routine license agreement.
Okay, so this is the same kind of agreement we've had for
Yes.
the past N years.
Yes.
Other than this, the 4,000 is going to 6,000, is that?
Yes, the
okay,
cost is
so
gone up.
it's- Okay.
7,000, I think,
7,000
in the
this year.
current, in this coming year.
it is- Okay, in the coming year, sorry. Thank you. The 7. thank
Yes.
you. Okay.
I had a question about the crosswalk and the parking restrictions on in the church parking lot where it says Christ Church Community Building Activities. And there's the crosswalk there, or there's some kind of marking on the map. I didn't know clearly we use all of the parking at the church. I wonder why that's locked off. Is it going to be blocked off? It hasn't been blocked off before. The map. I'm just
Mhm.
looking at the map. So being a visual learner, I'm just looking at the map. That was one concern I had, or question I had. And I don't see where you're on this map, where you're crossing the kids.
So
It's not on there.
typically it's directly across from where the bus stop is. I don't from here know the exact location of the bus stop, but it's just directly across
East.
Portola Road. Yes.
On the west side or the east side? The bus stop is on the east side.
Mhm. So it would,
There's no crosswalk here. I mean, there's no delineation of the, I've always had an issue with the crosswalk.
okay,
And the reason is because the trail is on the other side of the street.
Mhm.
The crosswalk crosses from the bus stop. And I'm just confused, and which makes good sense and comes over. But if we move the bus stop, I'd be interested in knowing.
that could be something we can have a conversation with Sam Trans about. We don't have a lot of control
But
over
is this bus stop staying the same?
Yes,
The bus stop
yes.
is in the same place?
same
Okay,
spot, same
fine.
spot.
And the crosswalk is in the same place?
Yes, same spot.
Got it.
Any other questions?
The question is, have we looked into people doing this as actually as a real not-for-profit? In other words, the Lions Club doing it, or one of our volunteer organizations doing it and giving the proceeds, having it be a revenue generating as opposed to an expense,
So
like many other towns in the Bay Area do it.
So it isn't something that we looked into this year, but it's something we can definitely consider in the future years as an option. I think this year it was more of just a routine license agreement, but I'm happy to take that back and do some research on that one as well.
It seems like we could get a win-win. No comments. Yeah.
Happy to look into that.
Any other questions from the council? Okay. I see one hand raised on Zoom for public comment. Rita, go ahead.
Hi, back to the bandwagon about contracts in Menlo Park. It seems that they pay, I'm not sure how much money they give to Menlo Park, the farmer's market there, and Palo Alto has a couple of farmers markets, and they pay, and then they also donate into the community. So since this one is, is it coded entertainment for the town? It seems that we're now going to be spending $7,000 a year, and they're supposed to give us $1 per week at the beginning of every month, and also carry about $2 million worth of insurance. And from a couple of business transactions recently, it's very important that somebody looks at that insurance certificate. Have a couple of friends that have run into some real issues with that, having business dealings with people. Then it turns out when something happened that there was actually no insurance ever procured. So I'm sure we're working on our checks and balances. And so hopefully that's being done. But I really believe, this group helped us a lot during COVID. And we compensated them a lot during that time when they were there all the time during the lockdown. But I really hope that we do look into a different vendor, or perhaps have a different type of contract with this particular vendor with our deficit. And it is nice to have the farmer's market, but everybody, we could do better in our own bottom line. And work out a different deal with them. Thank you.
Thank you. I see no other hands raised. Oh, Christy Corley, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering how much it is to rent a booth at our farmer's market, and then how much is their insurance annually? And that's my question.
Okay, thank you. I see no other hands raised on Zoom, and there are no attendees in the schoolhouse, by the way. Council discussion.
I love the idea of waste from the market, maybe having another role, another life. The idea of donating surplus food to food. For example, the churches all do meals and have food banks, etc. And if there's true waste, the village chickens would love to have it. So, something, if we could look into a few things like that, so it's a little bit more ecological. The other thing that bothers me about the market, which I adore, by the way, is I think it really depends a lot on Public Works, even though they're supposed to clean everything. I'm there the next morning, every morning at 8 o'clock, and there's just a lot to pick up. And they start picking up at 7:30, and they're picking up all day after the market. So I just want to make sure that Sharif realizes that the public health is down. Public Works is down a person and is really actually doing a bunch of jobs. They're feeling the strain.
Great, any thoughts?
Yeah, I guess I'd like to, I didn't actually realize that we were paying to get a farmer's market run. So I guess for next year, I'd like to see this in the budget. I mean, we have all these other things. And I can remember when we did the nonprofit stuff and we were debating over like $1,000, and here we're doing 7,000. Sort of feels outside the budgeting process to me. So it'd be nice to see that as a budget item. And then hopefully, the town manager and staff are going to audit this. I think this Rita's point about making sure that there's an insurance policy that covers, what they're supposed to, and that this $7,000 is stuff that we're getting value from. No fault in the presentation, but I don't understand what we're paying $7,000 for. And I don't want to get into a lot of detail tonight, but I would like, I think in the next year, let's go back and understand better what we're getting for our money, and then we can make a decision whether that's the right way to budget our money.
If I may, through the mayor.
Please.
So usually Nile, we unfortunately didn't have it happen this year, comes annually to talk about the offerings and where the money's going. And that is an agreement as part of the license agreement for him to start coming annually and speaking about what Good Roots is providing equally for the community as well as just offering the farmer's market for the cost.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think that would go a long way toward helping residents and myself understand where the money's going.
Well, and to your point, Nile brings all of the vendors in. He runs the whole thing. That could easily be several $1,000s of staff time trying to sort of, he deals with all the vendors that come in. He assigns their spots. He gets them here from all over.
Sure.
He sort of balances out. He finds when somebody leaves, he finds another vendor for that kind of. And he's doing a lot of things to make this market happen. Which
So I'm not saying necessarily it's a
Yeah.
bad thing. The way it's being presented, I don't
Yeah.
understand. And I don't understand, like, if you're in Menlo Park, are you paying these same, does Menlo Park pay these people the same way, or did they get money back from them? Well, exactly. So I think getting a better understanding of that, and then presumably the vendors are paying Niles a fee to have a booth here. So it may be
Yeah.
that we're small, and it may be that this is, a tax that we're paying to have it locally, and that may be okay. It's just, I would just like to make sure we better understand
Understood.
the
Yeah.
sort of context that this is in.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah, and if I may, Mayor,
Please.
I think all valid comments, all valid questions. I certainly have the same questions being new. And so we've noted that as staff, and we'll bring that back to understand what we're paying for, what opportunities are there, and where's the money going in a breakdown.
And how is it he's not here? And this is the only item on the agenda. We were talking about the investment in each of these meetings. It's a big investment for us to have our lawyer here and not have the backup for the. Only a thought.
With that, I could entertain a motion on this item.
Well, actually, I have one more question. Was the 6,000 on the warrant list different from the one we're okaying now?
Yes.
Is that extra? Are we talking about 12,000 or are we talking about 6,000 a year?
So the 6,000 was for the 22-23,
Okay.
and then the
It wasn't
7,000
just
is,
for parties.
no,
Okay.
no, no, that was
Okay.
just the previous fiscal year.
We don't have much to vote on. Okay. I move to approve the contract.
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Hefty,
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor,
Aye.
Mayor Alves.
Aye. Okay, the contract's approved. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to item 5, which is council liaison reports. There are 2 reports here from Vice Mayor Warnikoff, I believe. I want to add one which I did not write up. I apologize for that. Last Wednesday, Laura Russell, her last meeting with the town, convened a committee of committees meeting to discuss SB 330, which is a law from 2018.
2019
19.
went into effect.
Went into effect in 2020, which limits the number of meetings a jurisdiction can have on a development application. It limits us to 5 meetings. And so the committee had a discussion about, and it was myself, John Golden from Planning, Al Sill from ASCC, Catherine McGill from Conservation, and BPTS and Trails were their chairs had conflicts that came up late and couldn't attend. So the committee discussed sort of there were a few options for what how you could allocate those 5 meetings. For better or worse, one of them has to be the last one has to be a council meeting in case there is an appeal. If it's a development proposal and it's large enough, it could come to the council for an appeal. And so we gave the staff guidance on it, and I think the overall consensus is there's a sort of a preliminary meeting with the three committees sort of offering feedback, and then probably an ASCC meeting and 2 planning commission meetings, followed by a slot for the council meeting. Either if it's a zoning change or general plan amendment, it has to come back to the council, but if it's also appealed, we have to include that among our 5 meetings. So that was the discussion that we had, and staff is working with the recommendations from the committee to give us kind of a game plan for going forward when we have to basically approve these development applications in 5 meetings.
Yeah, so I listened in on that meeting as
Okay,
well.
right.
I was a little surprised that the appeal counts as a meeting. That seems like you're really saying it's 4 meetings.
Yeah.
I don't know if that
Yeah.
was an unintended consequence or that was.
That's in state law.
Yeah, so it's really 4 meetings is effectively for review. I mean, you basically have 4 places to
Yeah.
review it because you may or may not use the appeal.
And it could be 3 meetings if it was something you thought ASCC was going to be the approving body, because then someone could appeal to planning and then to the council. Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah,
It's-
no, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that was one thing that I wondered in that discussion, whether we might change. If it was an ASCC decision, it seemed like then reserving 2 more meetings for appeals, maybe we just change it and you just make it so you appeal to the council and you take the planning commission out of that so that you don't potentially lose a
Hmm.
meeting. So it's not a strong feeling. It was just in that discussion. Normally,
Yeah.
our normal process, ASCC goes to planning and
Yeah,
planning goes to
right.
town council, and that makes total sense to me when you're not restricted.
Yeah.
But if we think that having an extra meeting, if it's something that ASCC is going to decide on with the other committees, it almost seems like there might be more value in having that extra meeting for the committees and then letting it get appealed directly to the council if that's what need be.
Did
So.
we do that?
So I'm gonna say, well, this isn't on our agenda tonight to discuss.
yeah,
So, staff is taking all the input from that meeting and the planning commission meeting, and ultimately this will be, implemented by staff, project by project. So, we'll take those comments into consideration, but this
Yeah.
will be project by project. It's gonna really depend, I think, a lot on the scope of the project and how it's. But anyways, it was a good meeting and
Yeah,
staff
it was-
got good feedback.
And I believe staff is going to come back to the council with some kind of general outline for this. Is that right? Is that one of the things we decided in that meeting?
I will look into that.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Yeah, okay. That was my one report. Did either of you have any other, oh, sorry, did you have another question?
No, that's good.
Okay.
I have something else, but not on this topic.
Go ahead with your.
Yeah. So I was just going to say that wildfire preparedness, there was a meeting and both fire marshal and the fire marshal soon to be in December, both attended. It was a very good meeting. It was very productive. And I think it gave both the fire marshals and the WBC a real opportunity to talk about, how to have a good working relationship and how to sort of move stuff forward. So I was very encouraged. I think that both Don and Kim working with WPC are doing a great job. But so anyway, I think that whole process seems like it's going to work well. And I think one of the big things that came up is, they're writing all these ordinances, and the ordinances generally are, here are all the things you can't do. Here are all the things we're going to slap fines on you for. And one of the things that was discussed in the meeting was writing guidelines. And so what Woodside Fire is talking about doing is outlining sort of the kind of what they think the guidelines should look like, and then work with the committees and let the committees, in a sense, fill in those guidelines. And they would be much more like, here's what you can do. Here's an example of the kind of things you can do to be successful, so that residents, when they're confronted with this, rather than having to kind of guess what's okay based on what you're not supposed to do, they'll have some guidelines. Because I think a lot of people worry that this really means sort of, bare dirt for 0 to 5 feet. And when you talk to the fire marshals, it's like, no, I mean, if you had a little gorilla hair like right around your bush, but not all around your house, that would probably be okay. So there's some nuance to the way they're looking at that. And the idea of these guidelines would be to try to bring some of that out so that, we can be fire safe, but at the same time, I think still have a lot of the natural beauty that we're here for. So anyway, I was very encouraged. I think it's going to be a great partnership. And that was, and I think that will also be with conservation as well. So I think WPC and conservation will sort of hook into those guidelines and work with the district.
Oh, that's great. That's good to hear. Thank you. Mary, did you have any liaison reports you wanted to?
So many liaison reports. I don't want to take a lot of time with any of them, except, and a lot of, I have some that a bunch that I just turned in that are out of date. So I didn't know whether you wanted to have on the next.
Well, you should turn them in for on the agenda, but if you want to give brief synopsis. now,
Yeah,
it's fine.
yeah. So there are a lot of things that are interesting that happening, but in particular, Sharif and I, as you know, attended the League of California City. So we both got a lot out of it, I thought, as well as the opportunity to be with Sharif. Getting to know everybody in the entire state is a usable thing, and come away with a stack of cards that you could deal. It's you feel like you can deal. So there was a lot of very interesting things that were raised, and there's good legislation that I think is going to help us, and there's also budgeting coming through that's going to make some of this affordable housing affordable, I hope. And so we need to keep an eye on ACA 1 and ACA 13. We need, there's this wonderful thing called county service areas that you can employ for grants and for, and it's a little known. I have a handout. I did have a handout on it, but I may not have made it. It's employed so that you would have a group, could be both incorporated and unincorporated areas. So Ladera, Los Trancos, Woodside, Portola Valley, Emerald Hills could all be a CSA, and you can get these big grants for housing and for wildfire defense. And because we're all in the same fire district, I think it politically it would be, and of course the grant people are, I asked the question and 3 grant designers came over immediately and said they offered their assistance with the town. So there's no doubt that they're there and they are ready to do this sooner rather than later. So it might relieve some of both of our, increase our ability to use, interact, shared resources, etc. So that was one thing that I got quite excited about. I also got quite excited about fire, of course. It's always exciting. They had unbelievably good speakers on fire. It was just devastatingly good. And talking about the maps and the non-maps and what's important and what designation you are. And whether you're a WUI or whether you're at high risk or whether you're at risk, your community, being a community at risk for fire is something that we need to recognize, according to them. You don't necessarily, being a WUI is not necessarily beneficial, as beneficial as getting the multi-generational mindset adjusted that we're absolutely all going to adopt to wildfire mitigation, and making sure everybody's got that message. And the point being that it's the only peril we have, which is the asset you're trying to protect is the source of the peril, which is your house. And that's what makes it particularly difficult to defend, but and expensive to defend. So we just need to get everybody on, decrease the resistance to both our ordinances and our efforts. And the other thing they pointed out is a lot of the mitigations that are done are not done cost effectively. They're done without recognizing where the side of the fire is coming from, et cetera. And so you end up doing more expensive and more damaging ecological work just out of enthusiasm. And so just sort of a warning. The takeaway sort of moral things were collaboration, trust, the usual things, building trust and joy in work, and working together to just working together. So building trust continues to be a theme with every town in California. And respect. And just that message, just everybody's got to realize, the entire residency and the entire committees need to realize that trust and respect are key. And when it's not happening, it's not the fault of the recipient. Just go with the flow and realize that it's 100% there most of the time. So I think that's all I wanted to say about the League of California Cities annual conference, although there's a ton more, and I probably should write it up more thoroughly, but I got it somewhere in there. It's now, it'll be with the next minute,
Sure.
next agenda.
And a write-up would be great. I mean,
I'll try
Yeah.
to do better.
Yeah.
Actually, there was a lot more to it.
yeah, no,
Sure
yeah,
was,
you
yeah,
just, even
yeah.
just some summary stuff that we could put in the next packet would be wonderful.
Okay, I'll work on it a bit more. I also I attended on the 26th a really good presentation. I thought it would be just interesting to talk to you about it. It was by the local officials webinar on nuclear fusion and the future of energy. I thought you were probably there, Jeff. Were you there?
I was not.
Okay, well, it was extremely interesting. It was extremely, it was given by the director of the Lawrence Livermore National Labs. And they have in mind the core concepts, again, collaborative autonomy, distributed nodes of energy. I mean, they're all about having local energy production. That's your Tesla, your whatever it is, feeding into the grid and actually making it happen. So, and they're also excited about, her main thing that she said is that our energy grid needs to be exquisitely local, which I somehow thought we can do that. We can do exquisitely local energy, and maybe we should. So, and she's working away, it's about 10 years out, but it's worth thinking about it. We could have our very own fusion right here in beautiful downtown Portola Valley. But they get it figured out.
Did we put that in the town manager's office?
We know how to bury carbon really well. Okay, so that was, I wrote that up just because it was so interesting. I think I, for one, have been taking off my solar that I've had for 35 years because it's got too damn confusing. Excuse my language, pardon me. It got too confusing to how it's paid for and so forth. So I think we maybe can re-energize ourselves around sustainability a little bit on that. Then I did meet in the last 2 days with conservation, and I am sorry to say they were somewhat alarmed by the committee of committees idea that they weren't going to be able to make comment on landscaping and conservation, and that they think, and they just finished their rewriting of their charter, and in their charter, it very clearly says that their job is to review landscaping and to review environmental impact of developments. And so I said, oh, we're going to work this out. It's okay. We're going to find a way to get, I think because we are such a collaborative place, we need to make sure that somehow earlier in the process or somehow these meetings where the homeowner or the developer gets to realize with whom they're dealing before it's an adversarial already done deal is simply critical, because we've gotten some very beautiful developments done by putting people through this. And I know it seems painful for everybody, but they get to know what the ethos is. They get to know what the character is. They get to know why it's this way. I mean, the point being that we are a town that was developed as an environmental model for California, and we need to continue with that legacy. So that's where there was a lot more to that, and I will write that up and have it for the next meeting. What else I did this week? Felt like I did a lot. The general plan discussion group was yesterday. It was really very, very fun. We had about 30 people. Tom Vlasic talked about the old, about the general plan, the current general plan, which he wrote. So it was very interesting to hear his comments. And again, he reiterated the importance of collaboration, respect, and trust, and that is what made it work to write the general plan, because everybody was on board, that it came out of California's, the book, Cry California, where as Silicon Valley was developed and all the orchards disappeared, the 5 founders went to establish a place of reprise from the development. And that's why it was founded. And that's why it's written in such a flowery way. It was an idealistic move for the entire peninsula. So it was just interesting to go through the history and then to go through where we are now and what needs to be, and modernization, what it means, et cetera, et cetera. So it was basically a final meeting for us, for the general plan discussion group, and I think we'll move on to whatever else, but we certainly know a lot more about it. And we also have got a lot of people up to par. So I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Any public comment on the liaison reports?
Oh, I have one more.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. And unfortunately, my write-up is not here. I sent it to you. It's my CCAG one, and I actually made it to it this time.
Okay.
And which is really good because they hadn't had a quorum in 4 months. So I made a quorum and we voted on all the back minutes. And this is, it made me feel a little bit better about us and quoruming and carrying on. But I'd say it's a little bit of a tough slog for me. I think in the long run, it'll be very interesting because we'll be talking about water and sewer. And water and sewer are probably 2 very important issues for us. So having a little contact with that group is probably helpful.
Great, thank you. Public comment on the liaison reports. Dana Breen, go ahead.
Dana, we're trusting you there.
No. I didn't expect to have a chance to talk about this evening. I thought our meeting yesterday was extraordinary with Tom Vlasic, and obviously I served with him, and I served 20 years with him on ASCC as our planner. But, as an author of the general plan, we talked about 1007, 1008, that the town of Portola Valley that our general plan is conceived in the context of us remaining rural for the entire peninsula, to use. And I thought that remains so powerful for me, that during COVID, people came to Portola Valley. People are coming to Portola Valley to the town center to use it. And that is, Portola Valley is not trying to keep out development. Portola Valley is trying to remain pristine and rural for the rest of the Bay Area. Anyway, it was just so wonderful to be reminded of that, and to also his concepts of being respectful and kind and generous. I thought it was a brilliant meeting, and I was so grateful to have been there, and thank you for organizing it.
Thank you for organizing it too. You were a help.
I did.
Thanks, Dana. Rita, go ahead.
I was unable to go to the general plan meeting yesterday, and Tom Vlasic was part of the group that when I got my house approved, and a wonderful conversations with him. So sorry I missed that, but I want to thank council members Mary and Judith for putting together that general plan group. It's really involved the community. Everyone, instead of just talking about the general plan, actually started reading it, which has been wonderful, so that when we comment, we can actually know what we're commenting about and seeing the beautiful writing of the people that were working on it at that time and the amendments since then. So I just want to say thank you, and thank you for this council members and supporting having that, and hopefully we have more things like that in the future. Thank you.
One other thing that, can I just make one other comment? Is
quickly,
that out of
sure.
order? That he said, that Tom, well, one of the other thing that became obvious was that one of the things, having an entire planning company right in Ladera was a big advantage for us. You could go in there, you could sit down, there were consultants, there were assistants, there were all kinds of people working. And there was one high quality consultant that everybody in town knew after the other. And it was accessible. The fact that it was local, using that word again, local, helps an awful lot.
Right. Thank you. Mary and Rob, Jack, go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for taking my comment. This is also on the general plan meeting, fantastic series that so many of us enjoyed. Chance to listen and be heard. It was wonderful. I wanted to add attention to that our beautiful town hall. If you walk in the front door to ask questions and meet at the entryway there, if you turn around in our town hall, written on the wall in beautiful steel or probably burnished bronze letters are these words, our values as enshrined in the general plan. Obviously, this is the general plan as it stands is high value. And the fact that it is emboldened and written in our town hall itself that any of us can see, you have to turn around from the desk. But I recommend anyone take a look at that and be inspired. Thanks to all who've been a great part of it.
Thank you. Christy Corley, go ahead.
Thank you. I also was at the general plan at the end of the meeting, and I just want to say the committees and members, the committee members and residents of the town are quite wise. And I think he emphasized to utilize all the resources the committees have to offer and not decrease their ability to contribute. So I heard that loud and clear, and that the committee should always be utilized. And I'd like to see the geological committee work more closely with the geological town person. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other hands on Zoom, we will move on to the town manager's report. Sharif.
Thank you, Mayor. Quick mention of California League of Cities, as Mary mentioned, it was a pleasure to be with her there, and we got to discuss many things there. The speakers were amazing. It was nice to reconnect with the other leaders of the state and be able to network with them. And that's one of the biggest things, was the networking piece and understanding that side. So I did want to comment on the town picnic. I did have a chance to go to the town picnic, and just an amazing event. The weather was perfect. I called ahead to make sure the weather was good for Portola. But it was a wonderful event, wonderful to see everybody out there. And when you start a new job, one of the phrases they use is, drinking from a fire hose. And I asked Woodside Fire to take a picture of me. Carrie graciously took a picture of me drinking from the fire hose. So I have a picture of that moving forward. But just thank you to everybody that put together the picnic. It's just a wonderful event, and nice to see so many people out there enjoying the day. So quickly, we talked about, this is my third weekend, continue to pull the newbie card when I can. And so just learning, listening, and making decisions as we need. We were without a town manager for a while, so decisions that needed to be made. And you've heard me talk about reset, refocus. One of the things that I've been discussing with staff and executive team is also probably the need to restructure. And we're looking at having an internal needs assessment by all of us to see what positions we have, what are those functions, are we in the right spots, do we have the right people, that kind of thing. And so this transition is a tough one. We've lost some staff and turnover, and I'm confident we'll be stronger and better as we come out of this. So I appreciate the work of exec team and all the staff, and just want to appreciate all the work that they're doing. It hasn't been easy with some of the changes. And then one last piece, just want to talk about, we've been focusing, of course, on finance. We do have a senior accountant that has started today. There's been a lot of discussion about a senior accountant. So our second senior accountant starts today. And we're also adding a finance technician, a temporary help finance technician to help us with some of the backlog in finance. And also through some of the networks that I've come familiar with, I'm hiring a finance firm, government finance firm, to come in and do a needs assessment for us on our backlog in finance, and to help us recognize what we need, how many hours we might need to get those things done, but a commitment to getting caught up in our audit, our year-end close, all the different pieces, and talking about a better, stronger budget moving forward, and a mid-year revise, those kind of things. So I'm excited that we're going to make some substantial changes quickly, I think, in finance, and I think we'll all notice those changes moving forward. And then just one last thing, some of the simple wins that we're doing is in the next council report, in your next council packet, we're making some changes to the council report, in that every council report that goes to the community will have initials on the bottom. You'll see my initials as town manager approving the report. You'll also see Cindy's initials. So every council report is run by the director of finance as far as fiscal impact. So without the fiscal impact or without Cindy's signature, it does not move forward. And then we're also going to be adding Catherine's signature to reports that are needed, so that our interim town attorney can initial on the bottom that she's initial, then seeing the report. So that as a visual to say town manager, director of finance, and interim town attorney have all seen this report and have moved it forward. So a quick change to that. And that's all I have.
Well,
Questions on
oh yeah, the name of the consulting firm,
Oh, the name of the consulting firm is Krish and Company.
excuse me,
Krish and Company. And I can send you the name.
did I meet her? No.
You did. You met Catherine. Catherine Krish is the CEO of the firm. And you and I had sat down and we met at California League of Cities. So
And I copied her hairdo.
that's right.
So anyway, I think it's great. I guess my question remains, do you see a need for an audit committee, as you being the CFO here? Would you be more comfortable if you had an audit committee that would sign off on the audit, that would do what an audit committee does, which is check that's independent from the finance committee, that just problem shoots the audit every year, and it makes sure the audit happens every year, just like a regular company. I was told, governments are different, but what could be more logical than having an independent audit committee? It's a doable job for anybody who knows how to do an audit, or even just anybody who has sort of average college level math. And you have a guarantee you get an audit every year, and that it's been reviewed by an outside person. It's basically to protect the council and the CFO.
Yeah. I'd actually like to take it one step further, Councilmember Huffey, in that we're looking at all our committees, right? And we're evaluating all the committees that we have as a town, what their purpose are, what their charter is, if you will. There's certainly benefit to having an audit committee. In my experience in other cities and other places, you have a finance and audit committee. It doesn't have to be the full finance committee. We certainly have people in the finance committee can also serve as that audit committee as well. And so you can have a finance and audit committee with those same members, and the agenda would
Well,
change.
that's what we have.
Right.
We have a finance and audit, but that puts them in that actually puts them in an uncomfortable situation, because then, just like we're in right now, they may have felt they were doing a financially good job, but the question was who exactly was doing the audit function.
Yeah, and we can certainly take a look at that. And audits are more automatic than anything else, as opposed to finance, where there's a lot of input that I think can be taken. An audit is more of a factual kind of piece. So we'll certainly take a look at that, and we'll report back to council.
Yeah, I'm not arguing about it. It's just that an auditor does an audit, and there has to be somebody that's presented to.
Right.
And it should be outside of the CFO.
Yeah,
Should be-
typically it's the finance committee that the auditor would report to, and then that goes to full council. So we'll certainly take a look at that. As we mentioned, we're looking at all the committees and all the structures moving forward. So
it
very
seems
good
to be
point.
broke.
Questions from you, Craig?
No, I'm worried we're starting to get into discussion.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, I agree.
so-
Okay.
I think
Um,
it's an interesting topic, but it's just inappropriate.
Yeah, I think it needs to
So
continue
we're
offline
further
for
on.
now. Agreed. Public comment on the town manager's report. Okay, I do not see any hands raised, so we are on to item 7, which is adjournment. We're, if we're all good.
I moved, we adjourn.
We finish all the business.
I think, all in